The Atlanta Braves win their first series since mid-March with a dominant Spencer Schwellenbach start. Ronald Acuña Jr. also dominating. The front office, not so much. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Thursday, June 12th. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_Today. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, BravesToday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. Lots of fun stuff, by the way, over at BravesToday.com on the Substack in the last couple days. If you want recaps from every single game, that's today's three things. Drops after every game once I finish the postcast over on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Dropped a great piece this morning on this upcoming schedule for Atlanta and how they can get back into the wild card race between now and the All-Star break. We'll talk about that in part of tomorrow's live show. But I want to talk about the series that just ended, right? I want to talk about how Ronald Acuña Jr. is playing. I want to talk about Spencer Schwellenbach's domination. I also want to get to some comments, some public comments that we got about missteps that the organization has made, more specifically, more fallout from the Craig Kimbrel decision from last week. So let's start with Spencer Schwellenbach, okay? Atlanta wins the finale on Wednesday 6-2, and Schwellenbach pitches his first ever complete game at any level, right? College, minors, majors. You have to remember, he was a shortstop at Nebraska who added closer duties in his final season. So he was not a full-time starter. He didn't spend a ton of time in the minors prior to getting called up and was not going as deep into games as you would expect him to, because he was still learning to be a starter. But Schwellenbach gets through this entire game, 105 pitches, 5 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts. He throws 76 pitches, or 76 strikes in the 105 pitches, and just never really looked to be in trouble. I noticed a couple things that I really liked from Schwellenbach in this one. I do want to point out, he gave up 2 runs, right? The Eric Haas double in the 8th inning was the only real mistake I felt like that Milwaukee took advantage of. He threw a 4-seamer belt high on the inner third. I haven't gone back and looked at it. I think it was supposed to be more inside than it was. He missed a little over the plate, and it got hit for a double. Rhys Hoskins, first baseman Rhys Hoskins, got a solo shot in the 2nd inning. It was a good pitch. We talk about this sometimes. This goes back to the inputs versus results thing, right? He threw him a sinker both inside out of the strike zone and down below the zone. Like, it's objectively a good pitch. And yes, Rhys Hoskins went down and got it for a home run, but it is not very common that pitch is taken out for a home run. You really can't be mad about executing your pitch and the guy making a very good swing and hitting a home run. Outside of that, he was never really in trouble in this one. And as I like to do, a couple trends that I noticed that he did. The first one was the fastball velocity, right? His average fastball velocity ticks up again in this one. Schwellenbach averaged 98.2 miles an hour on his 4-seam fastball. And he threw a lot of them too. I think it was 51% usage. So over 50 pitches on the 4-seam fastball, 51% overall. And he was, it looked easy. It did not look like it's not a high effort delivery at all. Schwellenbach's just a great athlete. We've seen him play defense from the mound. And this was just easy gas. His 100th pitch of the game was 99 miles an hour that just barely missed the top of the zone. Like, I'm not worried about the effort that goes into this velocity for Spencer Schwellenbach. So again, 1.2 mile an hour above his season average here on the fastball. And like I said, he did use it a lot, okay? Milwaukee swung at 32 of these four-seam fastballs. I'm sorry, 33. He threw 55. They swung at 33 of them. They had 11 whiffs, 13 foul balls, 9 called strikes, and 9 put into play. So he threw a lot of four-seam fastballs. They were aggressive on the four-seam fastballs, and they just really weren't seeing it very well. He did give up 6 hard hit balls. I believe of those 6, I think one or two of them, I think one of them was a hit. The Rhys Hoskins home run. Oh, no, sorry. Eric Haas's double was also a hard hit ball. The rest of them, ground out, fly out, ground out. Like the balls weren't falling. And Braves defense did well in this one. But this is a thing we see that Drake Baldwin's good about doing. And Sean Murphy, too. I think Baldwin learned it from Murphy, honestly. It's when you see a thing that's working, just going back to that until they figure it out. And they never really did figure it out. Obviously, he used the other pitches. The splitter was very effective because they were keyed on that fastball so much. And the splitter tunnels with the fastball on the way to the plate. Threw 16 of them, got 6 swings, 3 whiffs, a called strike, and 3 put into play. 1 whiff on 8 swings on the cutter. Just a lot of swings and misses. And I think he finished with 15 total, a 31% CSW, exactly what you're looking for. But just dominance to the point that we haven't really seen from Spencer Schwellenbach. He's been good. He's been efficient. But part of when he's been really good, it's been either his breaking pitch, like one of his breaking pitches, maybe it's the slider, maybe it's the curveball or whatever, or it's been off that splitter. Dominance off of the four-seam fastball hasn't always been a thing that he's done. It's not always going to be replicated against every team. Some teams are good against fastballs. But to me, it's a sign of the next level of development for Spencer Schwellenbach, right? I talk on this show a lot about there's kitchen sink guys and there's here's my best pitch, hit it guys. Schwellenbach's always been an example of the kitchen sink guy. I have 6 pitches. I can throw any of them for strikes. I sequence them really well. You're never going to be comfortable with what's coming. The flip side, you face Chris Sale, you face Spencer Strider when he's full health, fastball, slider. Four-seam fastball and a slider. Here you go. Hit him if you can. You probably can't. And seeing how dominant Schwellenbach was on that fastball yesterday makes me feel confident that when he does have that off day where something's not there for him, if he doesn't have the curveball, if he doesn't have the splitter or the cutter or the slider, or just doesn't have the best command over the arsenal overall, the stuff by and of itself is good enough to get him through an outing. Will it get him a complete game in 105 pitches? Probably not. But can he make it through 5 or 6 innings with Atlanta still being in the game without his best stuff? I feel like yesterday showed us he can. So yes, the ceiling is higher for Schwellenbach, seeing him with a complete game, doing it with 105 pitches. But the floor, to me, is also higher because the stuff can survive in and of itself, and he's not reliant on that sequencing and the kitchen sink to make it work. So, love that. He's now at a 3.11 ERA on the season. And the best part of this that we're not really talking about is everybody in the bullpen now has 2 days of rest. Everybody was rested 2 days because nobody got into the game, obviously, on Wednesday. Dylan Lee did start to toss in the 9th in case they had to go to somebody, but never got in the game. They're obviously off today. You have the weekend series, and then you're off again on Monday. So there should be no reason why your entire bullpen is not available this weekend. In just a second, I want to talk about Ronald Acuña Jr. because I don't quite think we realize, one, how dominant he is right now, and two, how dominant he is as compared to the last time he came back from injury. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery. These are the absolute best sunflower seeds on the market. You guys hear me talk about it all the time. Today's flavor for me, jalapeno ranch. I'm going to crush this bag on the off day, have it and just enjoy this and then get back at it tomorrow with something new. They have 8 total flavors: original, lemon pepper, the jalapeno ranch, smokehouse barbecue, hatch chili, dill pickle, cinnamon toast, parmesan and pepper. Promo code BRAVES at Chinook, Chinook, ChinookSeedery.com gets you a couple things, okay? One, you buy a sampler pack. They always ship those for free. It's all 8 flavors in a 2-ounce bag like this. 2-ounce bags of each flavor. They always ship that for free, but you get 10% off of it, okay? Once you figure out the flavors you like, you give the option of either buying a variety pack, which is the full-size bags, some of everything, or you build your own pack, build your own case with just the flavors you like. Maybe you're not the hatch chili, the spicy, bold heat person. Maybe you think the parmesan and pepper, you don't want the savory on yours. Maybe my kids love the cinnamon toast. Who doesn't love cinnamon toast? Both in breakfast form and in the crunch form from cereal. So you buy a variety pack. Promo code BRAVES gets you 10% off. Also gets you free shipping on orders over $40. ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES, 10% off, free shipping on orders over $40, and supports the Braves Today podcast. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. I want to talk about Ronald Acuña Jr. because he has another great game yesterday. He hits a home run. That meant he went 7 for 12 in this series. 3 runs, 4 RBI. 2 walks to 1 strikeout. He's seeing the ball fantastically. But what I don't necessarily think people realize is, yes, he is not going to have as much time before the All-Star game this year as he had in 2022. He had 59 games before the All-Star break in 2022. This year, it is absolutely going to be less than that. It is going to be 28 games before Monday's Home Run Derby on Monday, July 14th. Okay? The voting just opened, though, right before he came back. But here's the thing. He's hitting so much better than he was when he came back in 2022. And if you remember, he led the National League in votes in 2022 and started the All-Star game. Okay? So, 59 games after the torn ACL in 2022. Again, led baseball in votes, led the National League in votes, or Tony led baseball in votes. Led the National League in votes, started in LA. He had a 265 average, a 776 OPS. That's a 121 WRC plus. And a reminder here on WRC plus, 100 is league average, right? Like that is set up where 100 is league average. It's called normalized. That's normalized to 100. So a 121 WRC plus, weighted runs created plus, means that you create runs 21% better than the average MLB hitter, which is fantastic. It's not, if you are 10% above, that is very good. So 21 is great. 22 RBI, and he was worth 1.5 WAR in 2022. And again, led the National League in votes. In 17 games this year, and I know it's a small sample size, he's got some more to go here. He's batting .353 with a 1.083 OPS. It's a WRC plus mark of 184. Again, he was 121 in 2022 before the All-Star break. He's 184 right now. He had 8 home runs then. He has 6 already in 17 games. Now, the difference in Ronald then and now is he was running back then. I think he stole 2 bases in the first game back from the injury. He's not attempted a stolen base yet this year. But he looks leaner than ever. He looks stronger than ever. And the results are showing. Again, 8 home runs in that 59 games. He's got 6 already. He had 22 RBI in that 59 games. He has 11 already. He was worth 1.5 WAR in that 59 games. He's already at 1.1 in 17 games. And, he definitely, as of right now, Chris Sale and Spencer Schwellenbach both feel like candidates to be in the All-Star game. I legitimately think that honestly, Chris Sale may be your starter in the All-Star game. It's probably, let's be honest, it's gonna be Paul Skeens, okay? He's already at 3.6 WAR. He leads all of baseball. But there's an argument for Chris Sale starting the All-Star game in his home ballpark. Just based on what he's done this year, he's tied for the league lead in starts with 14. And again, he has been absolutely phenomenal recently. Yes, he started rough. In the last 10 starts, Chris Sale has a 1.61 ERA. And so, he's having to dig out of a hole from starting poorly. But again, Paul Skeens has a 1.88. Paul Skeens has a 1.88 ERA. In his last 10 starts, from a strikeout perspective, from an ERA perspective, Chris Sale has been just as good as Paul Skeens. With it being in Atlanta, it feels like he is going to be in the All-Star game, and you can make an argument he should start. Spencer Schwellenbach is probably going to be there as well. I really don't know if any Braves position players will make it other than Ronald Acuña Jr. That's just how it is. We talked about this on the live show last week, by the way. We're doing another live show tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. A couple people have asked recently, I think it was after some of the losses and the rough postcast that we did, how can I leave a super chat and support? That'll be in the live show on Friday. But Chris Sale could start the All-Star game, probably comes in behind Paul Skeens, but Ronald Acuña Jr. is playing well enough to be there. And here's the thing I don't think we realize either. The full season pace for Ronald Acuña Jr., based on what he's done in this small sample, he's on pace for 54 home runs over 162 games. Now, obviously, he's not going to play 162 this year. But the pace that Ronald is on is 54 home runs in 162 games, 99 RBI, and 117 runs scored. It's not at the heights of that 2023 season. He scored 149 runs. But that is an RBI figure 7 below where he was in that 2023 season. It would be the 3rd highest RBI total of his career, obviously, were he to play 162 games. He's not going to, but I just don't quite think we realize exactly how good he has been. And so I wanted to bring that to you. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was really great. Something that is not great that we need to discuss is more fallout from that Craig Kimbrel DFA. We got some on-the-record comments from Gwinnett that aren't great. We'll talk about those next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. I want to go over what happened again with Craig Kimbrel, because there has been some developments in this. If those of you who don't quite remember this whole scenario, Craig Kimbrel signed the minor league deal with the Braves. They started him in Gwinnett. They started him in Columbus and then quickly moved him to Gwinnett. So AA to AAA. He did some stuff down there in Gwinnett and then apparently called Alex Anthopoulos and said, "Hey, I think I'm ready." And Alex said, "Okay, that's great." And then didn't call him up for 2 or so more weeks. Craig Kimbrel finally got the call on June the 5th. That was the Thursday after the Braves blew the lead to Arizona. That massive, that 6 or 7 run 9th inning that took a win into a loss. Scott Blewett got designated for assignment. Kimbrel came up and took a spot. And he pitched against San Francisco on Friday on the road. Okay. 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 walk. He did get a strikeout, and then he got out of the inning because of a caught stealing and a pickoff. So needed a little bit of help. He wasn't necessarily great, but he got out of it. Atlanta DFA'd him the next day. Designated him for assignment. He never had a chance to play in Truist Park. And he passed through waivers. They went to outright him to the minors. He instead selected free agency. And I think it was just yesterday, maybe it was the day before, he signed a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers. So he is now going to join the Texas Rangers organization. So he's not coming back to Atlanta. You're not going to see him in Truist Park unless the Rangers come to town and he is starting for them at that time. And the frustrating thing here for me, and I think a lot of people had this same opinion, is they thought that as a probable Hall of Famer, he deserved better than that. And Atlanta's explanation, I think Buster Olney tweeted about this. Atlanta's explanation was that Kimbrel had pitched multiple days, right? So he had thrown on the 4th, which was Wednesday. He was called up on Thursday. He had pitched on Friday. He threw 25 pitches on Wednesday. He threw 14 pitches on Friday. If he had been used again on Saturday, it had been 3 appearances in 4 days. And Atlanta needed a fresh arm, so they DFA'd him. That's stupid. If you knew that he had just thrown 25 pitches on Wednesday, and you didn't necessarily, and then I think it was Mark Bowen of MLB.com said his fastball was 91, 92, the breaking ball wasn't good. Why would they keep him? Why would you call him up if you knew he had just thrown 25 pitches a day before and you didn't think his stuff was that good? We, the fans, were not the only ones that did not like that. James McCann, the veteran catcher who signed in late March with the Braves on a minor league deal and has been in Gwinnett, he talked to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. And we got a little bit of some details we didn't have. McCann has a rolling opt-out similar to Kimbrel's, where if another organization offers him a major league job, Atlanta needs to either promote him or release him. We got that info. But McCann also expressed a little bit of frustration with the way the Kimbrel thing happened. So I'm going to read you these quotes. Again, this is all from The Athletic. It's behind a paywall, so you might not have access to it. But either way, here's some quotes about feelings inside the organization. This is at AAA, not the Major League Clubhouse, but feelings inside the organization about the Kimbrel situation. Quote, "That really frustrated me, and a lot of the guys in our locker room were very frustrated with it. It was strange to call him up for a day and DFA him. He's not just a run-of-the-mill reliever who became a journeyman after 2 or 3 years in the big leagues. He's a future Hall of Famer." He did talk about the outing as well, the inning that he pitched on Friday. He said, quote, "I'm not going to speak for Craig, but he was also on a cross-country flight that morning. Maybe he didn't have his legs under him, I'm not sure. At the end of the day, he put up a 0. You can't ask for much more than a 0 when you take the mound." We complained about this looked bad last week when it happened, right? And obviously the first show that I had after all of that was Monday. So I talked about it on Monday a little bit that it looked bad. But this is entirely an unforced error. And what's frustrating to me is the Atlanta Braves are in a situation where part of the reason they've been so successful is because they do a lot of the little things right to make up for the fact that they aren't giving top of the market contracts. Again, no player under Alex Anthopoulos with Atlanta has signed a multi-year deal of more than $22 million. Supposedly, Aaron Nola had an offer for one. Freddie Freeman's offer was for more than 22. But no player under Anthopoulos has signed for more than 1 year at over $22 million. Not Riley, not Olsen, not Strider, nobody. And I think the only deal that they offered that was more than $22 million was the 1 year deal to Josh Donaldson. 2019, right? Outside of that, nobody signed for more than $22 million. And when you're not paying top of the market money, you're not competitive with the teams that are offering $25, $26, $27, $30 million a year, all of the little things matter. And the Athletic put out their players poll. They do this annually, starting in spring training all the way through like the end of May. They poll MLB players in clubhouses, get a couple hundred responses about their thoughts on the organizations, the coaches they do and don't want to play for, their thoughts on rule changes, all kind of stuff like that. It's like a series, it's 5 articles this year, which players they want to watch the most, et cetera, et cetera. And the Braves, whether we like it or not, the Braves, Brian Snitker, all some of the most respected in baseball, okay? When you look at which manager aside from your own do you most want to play for, Brian Snitker's tied for 5th. It's Bruce Bochy of the Rangers, Terry Francona of the Reds, Stephen Vogt of the Guardians, Craig Counsell of the Cubs, and then Snitker's tied with Dave Roberts for 5th. They each got 7 votes. Snitker also only had 1 vote for manager would you not want to play for, right? Like he's not on that list. Ron Washington got 4, by the way. He had the second most votes of any individual manager in baseball. The organization you most want to play for, like which organizations have good reputations among players. Atlanta had the 3rd most votes. Dodgers were number 1 for obvious reasons. Everything they do is the best, right? The player development's the absolute best. They draft really well. They pay top money. Like they had the number 1 thing. The Yankees were number 2. They also had votes on bad reputation. Like the Yankees, they weren't in that same tier with the bad organizations, your Rockies, your White Sox, your A's, your Pirates, your Angels, that kind of stuff. But among non-terrible teams, they were 2nd in the most votes for bad reputations at 3 behind the Rays. Atlanta was 3rd in good reputation with no votes for bad reputation. And some of the quotes here on the good reputations, these are all anonymous. We don't know who these were, right? But, quote, they have a relaxed old school feel. Goes back to the clubhouse we always talk about, right? Quote, the Braves do everything just as good as the Yankees. The way they take care of the players' families, the way they treat you like you're the best in the league. He mentioned the Yankees. It makes me wonder if it's a player on the Yankees, which makes me wonder if it's Max Fried. Or it could be a player that could name more than one club. Maybe it's a player who just named the Yankees and then in the next sentence named the Braves. I don't know. Part of me wonders if it's Max Fried. He's had nothing but good things to say about the Braves since he's been in New York. Could have taught Dansby a lesson there with that. But the Braves are in that situation where they don't pay top dollar for free agents or extensions or all of that. And so because of that, all of the little things matter more for Atlanta. And when they do things like the Kimbrel thing, the Kimbrel DFA, they made this decision so quickly, he wasn't even with the team on the flight out to San Francisco. He had to take a separate flight the next morning and then pitch that night. And then they DFA'd him after the game. It could have been handled a lot better, and it's an unforced error, and it feels like we talk about the bullpen situation, we talk about left field, although I'm less hesitant to blame Atlanta on the Profar thing because like you're not allowed to make a guy take a drug test. It's in this, like, it's negotiated in the CBA of when they can do them and all of that stuff. There's no way to know that Profar was going to get popped for PEDs. They were convinced it was legitimate, and I wrote a whole thing about that. We did a show on that with clips from AA talking about it. But there are things that you can criticize them for, and this Kimbrel thing is another thing. And I think the bigger concern for me is that this is going to have impacts down the road. I have heard from family members of current players who have been frustrated with some of the things the Braves have done in the minors with the players. I'm not going to go into specifics. I was asked not to, but I've been told directly from parents of players, prospects, about things the organization has done that just didn't make a lot of sense and really frustrated the player and all of that. And my concern here is that the Braves are somehow slipping, and that things are like, this is a bad season for the Braves on the field, but it feels like it's been a bad season for the Braves in the front office too. And my hope is that things get better, and that the Braves on the field start playing to the caliber that they are able to, and that in the front office, these unforced errors, these mistakes that you don't need to make, go away. You stop shooting yourself in the foot with things like this, with things like declarative statements, payroll is going up, and then it doesn't happen. And I understand things may have changed. I fully expect that things could possibly have changed, right? I fully expect that ownership, Terry McGurk and all those folks, came back to AA and changed the payroll number down later. I fully think that's what happened. We're probably never going to find out. But it just feels like this offseason and this season, more so than any other, we've seen more unforced errors by Atlanta that they didn't need to make. And my hope is that it stops, because the team needs to play better for all of our sakes, but the front office has to be better as well. This has been Braves Today for Thursday, June 12th. Reminder, live show tomorrow, noon Eastern. Come with your questions. It's going to be a fun time. I'm really enjoying these live shows on Fridays, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live, or just drop the next episode in general. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.